Do you ever feel like everybody expects you to have all the answers or to know what to do next? They're always coming to you for the plan. Do you ever put that pressure on yourself to know everything? Or have you ever had that anxiety moment grab you when you realize that you don't know what to do next? You don't know how to solve that big problem that you're dealing with. And you just are worried about letting everybody down and how everybody is counting on you. Well, in this series, we're talking about how your successes have been holding you back from being able to move into the Thriver life. And today, I want to talk to you about how the belief that you have to know everything, the belief that you are the go-to person and that is your value is what's really holding you back. And in this video, I'm going to give you the keys to unlock those chains, to get to the point where you can be comfortable not knowing it all. And it'll actually allow you to be more productive and more satisfied and fulfilled with what you're doing. Are you ready? Welcome to Thrive Nation. I can tell you that this was one of the most difficult things for me to learn how to really break free from in my journey to moving from survival mode to thriving. And it was because so much of my identity was wrapped up in knowing what the next steps were, in knowing what I was supposed to do, in having the right answers. I mean, I'm the oldest sibling, so I'm the big brother to all of my younger siblings. I was always one of the first ones to raise my hand in class. It was a part of who I was, and I liked the feeling of people being able to count on me. And one of the scariest things was when I felt the urging to start my business, which is the first time. Now, I've started other businesses before, but I always had a job. I always had something solid that was going and taking care of things. So I had side hustles. I didn't have, full-blown businesses before. But this time, I felt the urging. I felt it was everything was setting up, and God was telling me that I was needing to do this way. And it was the hardest thing because this was the first thing that I was doing that I really didn't know what the next steps were. I knew what I needed to do right away, the very next step, but I couldn't see the pathway. I couldn't see how it was going to go. And there was a fear that gripped me when I was in that space. My family is counting on me. I have to put food on the table. I have to take care of my kids. I have to take care of my wife. But I'm being told to do something different, and I had to step out of my comfort zone, and it was a very difficult thing. But I can tell you that on the other side of that fear, I've heard Will Smith say this before. He said, God puts the best things in life on the other side of fear. And I think that one of the reasons why that is because on the other side of fear, you learn something about yourself. You learn what you're capable of. And so on the other side of that fear, I had a freedom that I had never experienced before. On the other side of that fear, I was able to accomplish more than I've ever thought possible. And so on the other side of that fear, I actually was able to begin thriving instead of just surviving, instead of just checking those boxes. And in today's video, I want to give you some tips that'll help you to overcome that fear and step away from that chain and that shackle of your past success and into your Thriver life. So oftentimes what happens to us when we're dealing with the reality that we're unfulfilled, we're dealing with the reality that while we're checking the boxes and everything, we don't have all the answers, and it's getting harder and harder, and it's overbearing it sometimes. And what happens though is because we know that we are blessed, we know that we have been able to do a number of great things, we know that we should be happy with our lives, we feel a fear of being ungrateful for what we have. And so we don't ever want to look at what could be. We feel like that there's the things that we have are what we're supposed to have for our entire lives, and we don't understand that things are here for seasons. And so while we're both fearful of being ungrateful, we're also fearful that if we set our sights on something else, what's to stop that thing from not being satisfying in the future? And so we wind up getting stuck in this place of not knowing how to move forward, but not being comfortable, not being satisfied with where we are. And so the first key that you have to understand is that fear is based on a faulty belief. That fear is based on a misperception of thinking that everything that is for us is always for us, that we're always supposed to be where we are. And that is the first thing that you have to change. So once you recognize that you have this fear of being ungrateful, this fear that the future is going to be fulfilling, and you realize that that's not going to be helpful to you, that's holding you back. The second step is that you then have to be able to change that perspective, right? And the way that you change that perspective is you look at the things that have gone on in your life, and you've got to change it from looking at these are mistakes, right? You can't get caught up in the idea that just because you decided to do something before, that was a mistake to do that, right? I remember I started out my career as a teacher. I thought I was going to be a superintendent. Now, what I realized later on was that I always was going to be a leader, and I always was going to be in education, but I had decided that superintendent was the pathway to that, whereas the season of my life was getting a master's degree and teaching and learning about education. What I can see now that I couldn't see then was that that foundation in education was going to be the basis for everything that I did going forward. What I thought was that I was supposed to be going on the superintendent route, but what I've learned is that I got the education part right, and that was a season of my life, but there were other things that I was supposed to be doing. I wasn't supposed to be in the school system for the entire time. And so the second key is to realize that your mistakes of the past are really opportunities for you to learn to understand that certain things come into your life for certain seasons. Certain people come into your life for certain seasons. There are some people that are supposed to be with us for the entirety of our lives, but there are other people that are just there for a little bit. They're just there to get us from point A to point B. And so we can't keep clinging to these successes of the past just because they're what's familiar. We've got to be able to realize that if we were able to be successful in the past, we are also able to be successful in the future. And it doesn't have to be based on knowing everything. So once you can change your perspective on what your past resembles and what your past represents to you, then you can start engaging in your present and looking at the future with a different perspective, right? The whole idea is that once you realize that your past was setting you up for your present and your future, now you can cherish what you're going through right now without the worry of what's next. What's next will come to you. You'll be able to see those things, and you'll know what the next steps are. You'll inquire and you'll ask. But now that you have ridded yourself of that fear of moving forward, you can actually see the opportunities that are there. When I was able to rid myself of the fear of not having a steady, stable job and starting a business, what I got to see was how having my own business taught me so many different things and gave me so many different opportunities. I had the opportunity to spend more time with my children. I worked jobs that provided for us well, but didn't give me the balance that I needed. They gave me a foundation, but they didn't give me the balance that I needed. And so when I started my own business, I learned how to be a better husband. I learned how to be a better father. There were so many other opportunities that were there once I let go of what I thought was what I was supposed to be doing. And so the third key is realizing that you can cherish the present and still look forward to the future, because just because there's a transition, just because there's a change, doesn't mean that what you're doing right now is wrong. There are seasons for everything. And so that's the big key that will release you from that change, because a lot of that fear is because we don't know what the next step and the next step and the next step is. And I want you to know that you don't have to know it all. You just have to know the next best thing. Oprah said it that way. Just figure out what the next best step is in your pathway. And you'll figure out, once you've defined success, once you've done a lot of the things that we talked about in the other videos, you'll have an idea of what's out there, what's your North Star, what you're moving to. But the key is to then know just your next step, because once you take that next step, different things open up to you and you can see so much more. So in summary, I just want you to know that it's okay to not know it all. Actually, you're not supposed to know it all. Imagine if you were living life and you knew everything that was going to happen exactly when it was going to happen. What would you be learning? What would you be experiencing? What would you have to reflect on, right? The whole point of this journey is that we're learning and we're growing all the time. And I want you to know that key number one, you've got to get over that fear, right? Because that's the main thing that's keeping you stuck. Realize that you have a destiny, you have greatness within you. There is something that is happening for you. Life happens for you, not to you. And so let go of that fear by changing your perspective, realizing that life is about learning and growing. Knowing it all is not your job. It's about learning how you can move past the things that you used to think you knew, and how you can understand the things that are coming in and changing your perspective now. And then the third thing, of course, is cherish the present season. Be able to enjoy it and engage in it even though you know that it's passing, because that doesn't make the future bad. That doesn't mean the future is going to be unfulfilling. That means the future is also going to be fulfilling. The future is also going to have that same experience of being new and you being able to cherish it and enjoy it and then transitioning to the next new thing. And that's when you start really beginning to thrive, when you're not just worried about surviving day to day, but you actually get to enjoy today and look forward with excitement to tomorrow. So I want you to think and put in the comments for me, when can you remember was the last time that you were present in the moment, where you were cherishing and just enjoying what is, where you were just elated to be, where you weren't thinking about the next thing and trying to figure out how to solve the next problem, and where you weren't having the weight of the world on your shoulders. Think back to that time and put that in the comments. I want to know when that was for you. And remember, as always, if you are getting value from what we're putting out, from the information that we're putting out, and from the experience of our videos, then please like, subscribe, share the videos, because our goal is to get this message to as many people as possible. We want the world to know that you have greatness within you and that you can manifest that greatness. You don't have to live just the survivor life. You can move beyond survival. If you feel like this is a message worth sharing, please like, subscribe, and share. So until next time, remember, you have greatness within you. You are here for a reason, for a purpose. And so live every day like it's on purpose and in alignment with your purpose, so you can begin moving beyond survival and into the Thriver life. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Thrive Nation.